Mr. B XRP here, and welcome back. It is early on Black Friday morning, so I'm going to keep it down a little bit, but happy Black Friday to everyone. And if you celebrated Thanksgiving, I hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving with your family and friends. And I know I sure did. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is some of the questions I got at Thanksgiving dinner and before and after about digital assets. I'm going to share that with you. Also, I want to talk about XRP reserves today. Brad Garlinghouse clarifies JPM coin. I want you to see this video because I think it's important. It's one of the questions I did get yesterday. And also how you could go about not paying taxes on your crypto gains. I think it's an incredibly important topic that a lot of people need to understand. It's also something I spoke about yesterday while I had some guests over my house. So let's jump into the prices before we do all that stuff. Right now we're at 25 on the extreme fear chart, which is actually very good. I know it doesn't sound good, but we were at 22 yesterday. It's come up, and up is better, right? The lower the number, the worse it is. We were at 14 last week. We're at 25 today. So it's improving. It's still extreme fear, but we're not feeling the fear. We don't feel the fear over here. So let's look at the pricing. Bitcoin's at 91,465. Ethereum's at 3,030. Tether's holding comfortably at $1, and XRP's at $2.19. I want to jump to the 1 year return rates just for fun. Bitcoin is up on the 1 year. It's actually down 5.53%. Ethereum is down 15.31%. XRP is still up 32.53%, and BNB Binance Coin is up 36%. Binance Coin has just been a real winner. So it's done incredibly well. So good for CZ Binance. I love this picture. It says, "Here comes our internet money genius," meaning these are your family and friends at the Thanksgiving table. I just thought this was absolutely brilliant, and this came from XRP Market. And one of the questions I had from my wife's cousin, her younger son, he's in his latter 20s, and he was asking me about the best way for him to hold his digital assets as far as for tax purposes. And I absolutely told him about IRAs. And as you know, if you listen to my channel, iTrustCapital is one of my sponsors. I'm going to play a short clip here about Roth IRAs. I'm a huge Roth IRA fan. You should look into Roth IRAs, but listen to this short clip.
That leaves one IRA that you may have already heard of, the Roth IRA. So what's a Roth IRA? It's a similar concept to an IRA, but contributions are made with post-tax dollars. This means an individual will pay income tax on their paycheck, then invest funds into a Roth IRA. Any gains are tax-free, and no additional taxes are due when taking distributions in retirement. Consult with your tax advisor to determine which.
I love Roth IRAs. I absolutely love them because you don't pay any tax on the gains, right? So, which is absolutely fantastic. And for those of you who think that you might make too much money to have a Roth IRA, there is something called a backdoor Roth. And what that means is you fund into a traditional IRA, you then let the IRA company know you want to do a backdoor. What they then do is they transfer the funds from the traditional to a Roth. Now, you will have to pay likely, and I can't say whether or not you'll have to pay taxes. That's up for you to discuss with your CPA. But in most cases, people have to pay tax. If you're under 50, you can fund up to 7,000. If you're over 50, you can fund 8,000, and you'll have to pay tax on that money. But I would rather pay tax on $8,000 because I'm over 50, and then pay no tax on the total gains of those digital assets once I'm 59 and a half. And I believe you have to have the account for 5 years or be 59 and a half. And look, if you have an emergency in your life, you can pull out your funds, and there's penalties and all that other stuff. But I think Roth IRAs are absolutely genius, and you should look into it. You should see if it's right for you. I have a link in the description of this video for iTrustCapital. Please use my link, and if you do and you're a new customer, you'll get a $100 funding bonus. So love Roth IRAs. Okay, this is the XRP-insights.com. And our total assets under management are on the 5 ETFs, XRP ETFs, has now gone over 800 million. We are going to go over $1 billion here in the next few days, which is going to be very, very exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. This post was by Cointelegraph. It said, update, Binance's XRP reserves have fallen to about 2.7 billion, one of the lowest ever, as steady outflows show investors pulling tokens off exchanges. So here you go. Here's the chart, right? And it was all the way up here at, I think, 3.2 billion. And it's down here now at 2.7 billion. So XRP's coming off exchanges, and there's a lot of reasons for that, right? People, one of the things we learned about these ETFs is sometimes they will do in-kind transfers, which means sometimes there are institutions or individuals that have XRP, spot XRP, meaning they hold XRP on an exchange and they want to trade it for an ETF. So the ETF company takes their XRP as an in-kind exchange and gives them an ETF instead. And the reason why people might do that, especially institutions, is for compliance reasons. They just would rather not have to deal with owning spot crypto. So that's one of the things that could be. But we'll be watching as more ETFs start to go live here in the next couple of days and weeks. This was from Chad Steingraber. He said the ETF funds only have a few options to source XRP, and it isn't Ripple's escrow. So I don't know where he got this specific statement, but most of it checks out with me. I mean, it looks absolutely accurate. It says Ripple cannot sell XRP directly to institutional investors at this time because of the 2023 court ruling deemed those individual sales to be unregistered security offerings, while the SEC has dropped its appeal, blah, blah, blah. So Ripple is unable to sell directly. They can do programmatic sales. Programmatic sales are not prohibited. The court determined that programmatic sales or algorithmic sales of XRP on public exchanges were not unregistered security offerings because the buyers did not know who they were buying directly. They didn't know they were buying directly from Ripple. So those were not illegal. So look, we all know Ripple pulls 1 billion XRP out of escrow every month. They put back about 800 million. Could they sell off some of that XRP all that XRP to exchanges? It appears that they can do that. But they're not, right? I mean, nobody stands to gain more than Ripple if the price of XRP is increased. And by being sure that it's scarce on exchanges, it will begin to increase. It has to. I mean, it's all about supply and demand. So love that post. This I also saw from someone named Tom Bay. He said just in NASDAQ ISE has filed to raise the position limits for BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF options. They're proposing to jump to 1 million contracts. They aren't just opening the door for institutions, they're removing the hinges. For context, the standard limit for most ETFs starts at 25,000 contracts. And those contracts, my understanding is for every contract can have, I believe, 100 shares. So it looks like they are just looking to sell a whole lot more ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs. And that's good news. It's good news for everyone, right? Rising tide lifts all boats. Rand Neuner had posted this. If you didn't see my video yesterday, Rand Neuner is at Crypto Man Ran on Twitter. He also has a YouTube channel. I believe it's the Crypto Insider or something like that. He put out a video yesterday that was incredible. If you haven't seen it, you got to get to this video. If you look at my video from yesterday, I have it in the description of my video. I have the link to his video. So take a look, and I'll link yesterday's video to this video at the end. So you can just click on my video and go to it. And he says in this Twitter posting, it's clear at this point that crypto is being attacked, and the weapon is the rating and index agencies. First, it was Master, right, which is MicroStrategy, attacked by MSCI, which is an index company. Now Tether is being attacked by the S&P. So apparently the S&P is downgrading Tether. How do you downgrade a 4% over collateralized stablecoin that is holding 5% of its assets in BTC and the vast majority in T-bills and gold? The agenda is clear. So, the Bitcoin folks believe that there is a coordinated effort to take down some of these companies, including Tether. So this is interesting. But look, there's when you see Rand's video, if you've watched it, it's pretty powerful. I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there looks like there might be some fire there. All right, this is Brad Garlinghouse talking about JPM coin. This is one of the questions that came up to me yesterday when I was having Thanksgiving dinner. Somebody said to me, well, JPM's coming out with a coin. Why wouldn't people just use that? And they just, people don't understand, how crypto works and how digital assets work. So let's let Brad Garlinghouse explain it. I think this is great.
JP Morgan coin made headlines in the fintech space a number of weeks ago. Is that similar to traditional cryptocurrency? Because to me, it doesn't sound like a decentralized product, even though cryptocurrency promotes decentralization. So what are the differences with what we traditionally consider crypto?
Well, let me start by saying I think it's great for the blockchain and crypto industry to have players like JPM leaning in. Thumbs up. Yep. That's great. That's the only nice thing I would say about this. Okay, so I got asked this last week. I was speaking at a Morgan Stanley conference, and somebody asked me, there was this headline, set of headlines about, about the JPM coin. Right. And this guy was from Morgan Stanley who was interviewing me. I said, so is Morgan Stanley going to use the JPM coin? And he's like, probably not, And so, well, is Citi going to use the JPM coin? Is B of A going to use the JPM coin? Is PNC? And the answer is no. And so does that mean we're all going to have these different coins? And does that mean we're back to where we are, where there's lack of interoperability? So well, I don't get it. One more quick thing on JPM coin. So let's think about this. The JPM coin, they announced for institutional customers, if you give them $1 as deposits, they'll give you a JPM coin that you then can move within the JPM ledger. Wait a minute, just use the $1.
Right.
Well, I really don't understand. If you're just moving it within the JPM ledger, and it has to be dollar to dollar, a one-to-one backing, it honestly doesn't I don't understand what problem that solves. Now, back to my first answer, look, if it solves the problem of JPM being associated as they're leaning into crypto, yay. Mm-hmm. That's all I got.
Right. and understood. And I think that's confusion. Not only look, if this doesn't work out, you could be
So look, I mean, it's a silo, right? I mean, nobody wants JPM coin other than, either JPM customers within their ecosystem or JPM themselves. It just doesn't make sense. It's not an individual coin like XRP or XLM. The X in those terms denotes that it's not owned by any one country, just like gold is XAU, right? The X denotes it's not owned by any one country. And that means it's available to everyone. And, that is the difference when you look at blockchains is you don't want to build your own silo. And it just doesn't make any sense. Citi doesn't want JPM coin. So it's not a threat. It's absolutely not a threat to XRP. It's not a threat to any digital asset out there. They all have their own use case, and their use cases will be limited if it's within a silo 100%. Okay, before I part, if you didn't know, I have a training program called Blockchain Bootcamp. It teaches folks everything I learned about digital assets in 8 years. I compress it in a 90-minute program. You can find it at cryptocoachnick.com. If you want to learn more about digital assets, or you have a family, friend, or colleague that wants to learn more about digital assets, and if you use the discount code XRP589, you get a 25% discount. So consider that a great Black Friday discount if you'd like to use it. And you can go to cryptocoachnick.com and learn more about it should you want to. And I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving yesterday. I hope they have a great day today. That's it for this one. Please hit like. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed already. If you're still here, you're officially my people. So thank you for being my people. I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Always do your own research. See you next time. Bye-bye.